Good morning, everybody. Well, good evening for Amy. Good morning for me. Great to see you all. Amy and I are laughing a little bit because it's been a bit of a frenzy behind the scenes, but I think we're okay now. So, welcome. We will get officially started in around 8 minutes or so, just coming on early to chat a little bit with those that are lining up in the chat window. So, welcome to everybody. I'm Katie. This is Amy, both from Midnight Music, and I can see a few people commenting in the chat window. So feel free to go ahead and do that if you would like to. Tell us where you're from, what's it like for you there. Jim has asked, am I on lockdown in Australia? Oh my gosh, it's just been ridiculous here. Our state, we have, states in Australia, and each state premier gets to decide whether we're locked down or not locked down. And it's all the different states are at different stages at the moment. So in Victoria, where I am, we had the worst sort of case last year. We had the most number of lockdowns and the more severe restrictions. And we're actually, for once, kind of in a good position, touch a lot of wood. So happy days. So we'll see how that goes. Some of the other places, though, not so much. Sydney, New South Wales, where Sydney is not so good at the moment. Poor things. So sending love out to you there if you're watching from there. There may be some teachers who are coming on because they are in lockdown and teaching remotely. They might have a few moments to come on where they would normally be teaching live in a classroom at this time of day. So there you go. And and Queensland, they're also, it's okay, also locked down at the moment. But yeah, we're a bit freer again as of about today. So thanks for asking, Jim. How's everything there? Jim is in Ohio, so there you go. Okay, I'm just checking a note from Michelle. Amy's going to tell us how her day was because it's her birthday today. Everyone can wish her a happy birthday in the chat window.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a good day. Having a good day. Just, we this weekend, my husband gave me the best gift. He said, you get a weekend to yourself. So he took the girls to visit his parents, and I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do. So I restained my deck. I power washed my house. I restained the porch. And then I went upstairs where the girls' bathroom is, my daughter's bathroom, and repainted it. And today I just got back from Target because Michaela picked what she wanted the bathroom to look like. So she picked a new shower curtain and a new bath rug, and it's just awesome.
Nice. That's my kind of weekend off as well, where I just get a whole heap of stuff done that I've been wanting to do for ages. Oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to just do a little check of a message that I've had and just see what's happening here. Okay.
How is it going? To do that. Is the chat working?
Well, I don't know because it's super quiet and I feel like something is not correct.
Something's not, I haven't had it updated in 5 minutes.
Okay. Why is that?
Are we live? We are live. Yeah, I do
we
see
are
us.
Live. All right. We're good there. Yeah, I feel like something has gone wrong. I might just, are you happy just to chat to everybody while I go off for a minute?
Sure.
This
is what
myself.
I
do. I know you do. Thank goodness for you. All right, you just chat to everyone. I'll see what I can do here.
Yeah, see what you can find out. All right. There goes Katie. We don't see your chat coming in, but this is Midnight Music, and we are doing Q&A today. So we're really, really excited about that. And it is August 3rd in the States, August 4th in Australia. And we're excited. We do have a copy of some of the questions that you've sent us already, and these are great questions. For some of us in the States, I know that you are back. And I applaud you for being back. But you probably got off in May, but I applaud you for coming back. It was a hard year last year, and I think I've watched a lot of teachers just need a mental break. So I hope you got that mental break as you're coming back, and I hope things are starting out well. For some of us, we'll go back next month. For some of us here in Australia, I believe maybe you came off of a holiday, so but you've been in school, and I know the lockdowns have been on and off. So I hope that everyone, whatever you're doing, is going well. I love that Katie is behind the scenes trying to fix the chat window because it has not been working. And then there we go. The chat window is back. Can you all say hi in the chat? Because we have, for about 5 minutes, we hadn't had any chat going on. So can you all say hi in the chat so that we can see you? And I'll acknowledge you as Katie is probably going to jump back on in a moment. So if you are there, please put your name, say hi in the chat. I still only see, I don't see much in the chat going on. So hopefully Katie is working her magic behind the screen. On Midnight Music, we have been having 2 courses that ran one back to back. We had the Canva course. And as one of the Midnight Music members said, Canva is a game changer. It's a complete game changer. It's on in my episodes I'm doing in the summer here in New Jersey. It's summer, and the episodes I've been doing of Best of Pandemic LMU Ed Tech. Canva was one of my best of the tech. So one of the best things that came out of trying to teach during a pandemic was getting to know Canva better. That course is still there, even though the Facebook pop-up group is done. It's nice that the course is still there. So if you are a member of Midnight Music, you can go check out that Canva course and have a good time with it. We are also currently running right now a Seesaw for music teachers. We're up to module 3, and module 4 should premiere this weekend once I get it all done. But I'm running that one. So Midnight Music is offering that course as well. So it's Seesaw for music teachers. So if you've been wanting to jump into Seesaw, it takes you from the very basics of Seesaw coming into module 4, which is ending with like escape rooms and how to make how to collect the virtual concert videos or audios that you still might need this year, because here in the States, we are coming back to more mask mandates, and we're not quite sure what our school year is looking like yet. All right, I see Katie in the chat room. We're having a couple issues with the video you're seeing on the page. It's currently showing the wrong one. Yeah, I thought that one too. If you are on the YouTube channel, it is showing me just talking. But Amy and I are live, but I don't think you can see us. No, but if you hit watch on YouTube, you can see us. So I'm over here in the YouTube, and there's a few of us over in YouTube. I do see you chatting. Thanks, SPLDLTA Arco. Yes, there's a few of us over in YouTube. Yes, if you're here. But if you click the watch on the YouTube, because it shows the piggy bank right now on Midnight Music, but if you click the YouTube, you can come over to us on the YouTube page, and we are here. And Katie has now just put in the YouTube direct link, and you can chat over here. I'm going to put in hi. I have a monitor right next to me, so I apologize when I look to the side. But I'm putting in hi in the chat over there. So thanks for those on YouTube who have been listening. Okay. Wait, are we back on? I see me. We did freeze there for a moment. This is fun. Yes, we're back. Okay, we're back on YouTube, and here comes Katie. We did just freeze there for a moment. But we are here on there. Yes, I froze, but I'm back. I'm back. Okay. Tammy, I'm back. I'm back. This is fun.
Oh, it's the first time this has happened. Okay. I think it was possibly my fault earlier this morning, and I messed something up. But anyway, I've just put a message into the other chat window to say, come join us directly on YouTube, and hopefully a few will head over from there. We may have to just like proceed and see what happens.
So,
anyway.
Thanks to Michelle, Tammy,
Yep.
John, Mrs. Jenny, you're here. Hey.
Yeah.
And SBLDLTA Arco. Thanks for letting me just sit here and babble. But if you are part of the Midnight Music community, thank you, Michelle, for seeing us both. Do come and check out these courses. We just finished up Canva. We do have Seesaw for music teachers up to Module 3 right now. Module 4 premieres hopefully this weekend. And then, of course, there's the video creation course that Katie did. And all of these intertwine together. That's what's so cool. Like when I'm doing Seesaw, I'm constantly mentioning her Canva course. And I'm like, oh, if you want to do this, go to the video course. So it's great to see you all here. It really is. And I'm going to give it back to Katie. Thanks. This is my birthday wish was to just babble.
Amy was vamping like a good musician in
a
musical pit orchestra, just vamping away. Keep going until the
really should have brought my flute and just
been
like, all right, here we go.
Thanks, everyone. I can see you signing into the chat window in YouTube now. So, yeah, I think we're going to have to do that for the moment. If we can get the other one fixed, we can do that, but stay here for now. It's all good. So, yes, I can see you. If you are on YouTube and you do want to comment, I believe you need to sign in to do that, and then you can type into the chat window. Amy and I feel like we may have a little bit of a delay between the time you post something and we get back to you, possibly. So if the chat's a bit delayed, that's just why. But anyway, all right, we're going to officially get started. It's very funny because today's session, and welcome for those who are just joining us, today's session is a very informal one, and it has truly turned out to be that anyway. So there we go. We are just doing a question and answer session, and really the July webinar, which I would have run, I did not have the mental capacity to do that at the time in mid-July where we normally do it. So I said to Amy, well, why don't we just postpone that? We'll do a question and answer, and then the proper August one will come back in 2 weeks' time. So it's only a short time before the next one. But so informal Q&A today. We have a few questions, about 20 questions actually, that have been pre-submitted just by a few people who wanted to do that. But we will take some extra questions during the session as well. And we might get started on a couple of the ones that we did get pre-submitted. We had 4 questions altogether about the same topic, which was about running live Zoom rehearsals. So I might tackle that one to start with, because I have been seeing that pop up again. It was a big question, a hot topic last year, obviously, when everyone went into lockdown. And then I think people just sort of let it sit for a while, and now it's popping up again. It's like, okay, now really, can we rehearse online live with our ensembles? Because a lot of us are going in and out of lockdown or different teaching scenarios where it's remote or it's hybrid or whatever. And it's still a big issue. So I might start off with that one. We've got a couple of Seesaw questions after that, and then some sort of general other questions as well. And so we might just work our way through the list. But if you want to pop a question into the chat window, we'll just see how many we can get to. So it sounds good. So there's no rhyme or reason really for the order of this, but let's see how it goes. So the thing with the Zoom rehearsals, so I have seen this pop up again. I mean, I know a lot of you maybe tried it even, where you've got an ensemble online and you all try and play live and it's all at a time. And it sounds really terrible and it's not funny. Well, it is funny for about 2 minutes and then it's not funny at all. And really that is still the case. But I thought I'd just talk about, because I know that people see the names of different software programs floating around, and some people saying, oh yeah, I've been rehearsing with my rock band totally live online and it's all in sync and everything. And I just thought I'd talk a little bit generally about how that is working and what that means for you as a teacher. And I'm really coming from the point of view of answering the question for those of you who are conducting ensembles of, choir, band, orchestra, where there are 30 kids, 40 kids, 60 kids. It's large groups. So I'll talk about that side of things. So really, there are 3 main things you need to consider when you're playing online with your students. And it's not just one thing. So I think a lot of people get really hung up on the software. And software is only one out of the 3 things that you need to consider. So software is things like Zoom or Google Meet or Teams or specialist platforms like Rock Out Loud Live, Musi, Jamulus, Jam Kazam. There's all these other platforms floating around and popping up, which are very music specific. And a lot of people get focused on it's the software, which is the software that's going to make this work. And it's not just the software that's the problem. So it's a combination of the software, the hardware that you also have, and I'll talk about that, and also, and really importantly, the internet connection and also your distance from the server that you are using to run a live session. And all of those things in conjunction are what makes it possible or not possible for a live synchronous rehearsal to work. So software alone is just tiny part of the picture. So if you are using Zoom or Teams or Google Meet, you're kind of stuck with things as they are. And a lot of you don't get a choice. You have to use Zoom or you have to use Google Meet because that's what your school dictates or your district dictates. So if you're using those platforms, playing live synchronously with your ensemble is just not an option. And you kind of just have to develop those rehearsal techniques where you can make it work with your ensemble. And when I say make it work, pretty much you are speaking, everyone else is on mute. And that's how you have to run your rehearsal. And I've been doing this with a choir and it's not fun. Nobody loves it. I don't love it. The choir members don't love it. But is it better than nothing? Yes, it's better than nothing. We still get to see each other once a week. We see each other's faces. We are running through the music. And yes, it's not nearly as good as doing it live in person. I can't hear at all what the choir members are doing. So I have no idea if really they're getting that phrase that we just practiced. Or the only thing I have to go by is I say 1 to 5 in the window with your hand. Tell me how you went with that. 5 being great or 1 being not so good. That's all you can do, really. And you have to develop some clever techniques to make it engaging for the students or the choir members. So that's the first thing. So if you're stuck with Zoom and Google Meet and Teams, okay, that's that. If you did want to attempt to make a synchronous rehearsal work, here is what you need to actually do. You need to have hardware to go along with the software you're using. And by hardware, I mean an audio interface of some sort. And this is not just you as the conductor or the teacher, it's every single person in your ensemble. So the best result you're going to get is if you have an audio interface and a microphone to plug into that audio interface. And at the very least, a microphone, which is like a USB microphone. That's sort of the lowest barrier to entry. So everyone in the ensemble needs to have that equipment. And then you also need to consider this internet issue. So a decent internet connection. Basically, the way that you can make a synchronous live rehearsal work is you plug in with a hardwire Ethernet cable into your laptop. So this is not going to work really on iPads. It's not going to work if your students are on phones. There's a lot of issues. So you're going to need to have a laptop of some sort. You need to hardwire in. And then also the last consideration there is that everyone in the ensemble needs to be not too far away from the server that you're all using to run the live session. Now, if already your eyes are glazing over because it's sounding too techie, yeah, it is. And at this point, if you've got 50 kids in an orchestra or a band, I'm going to guess there's no way that they're all going to have a microphone and or an audio interface, and they're all going to be hardwired into an Ethernet connection through their laptop, and you're going to be able to work out how far away from the server everybody is. So there's a lot of barriers, and the only way those live synchronous programs really work is if it's a very small ensemble. So they say you can have 30 people on in our sessions, and you can, but the more you have on, the worse it's going to be. So the best case scenario is when you've got like 4 or 5 people. So if you've got a rock band, awesome, give it a go. If you've got a barbershop quartet, it's possible. You give it a go. And still you need all that gear. So I hope that helps a little bit. And I know that's not the news that everybody wants to hear, but that's just kind of the way things are. So my theory is accept what you can do and kind of go with what you can do, which is trying your very best to make a rehearsal where everyone is on mute work for you in some kind of way. And yeah, it's not great. I mean, using breakout rooms, that's something that we do a lot in the choir where possible, smaller groups. lots of online games. We do silly warm-ups, all of those things just to keep people engaged. And it's not ideal. For if you're at a school, I don't do this with my community choir, but at a school, getting recordings of students playing what they've done in the session, so that you can see how they are playing and whether they've got the hang of the phrase. That's really the best thing you can do. All right, that was a long answer for that question. So I'm going to maybe hand over to Amy to talk about Seesaw. I'll just read out the questions that we had about Seesaw.
Okay.
One was, how do I share? Oh, the first question, actually, the more basic one is, Seesaw, how does it work? And what can I do with it having 700 plus kids? That's a great question. And then the second question that we had around Seesaw, which was so that first one was from Katie Linger. And the second question was from Jacqueline Chin, who says, how do I share my activity worksheets in school Seesaw to my private Seesaw account?
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. So first one is the 700 plus. That's always a challenge. And it really depends on if the school is supporting Seesaw. So if you're going to have that many students, you're going to have the school supporting you, because if you don't, you're using a free account. So a free account's only going to give you 10 classes. When you have 700 students, you're probably going to have to separate the word class out and bring in the word grade. So you're going to have 10 grades, and then it's going to get complicated, because then all of your 200 second graders are in one class technically in that free account. So if you have a free account and you have 700 students, my advice always is to start small. Start with one class and see how this goes, because it's probably, if you have the free account, the school hasn't supported it yet, they're asking you to try it out, you might be trying it out. So start with one class, and one class that can handle flexibility as you are trying to learn it. So which class. Sometimes for me, that could be the 5th grade class. Sometimes for me, that could be the kindergarten class. It always depends. Every year we have different classes. Now, if you are 700 kids and they've given you Seesaw for Schools, that's a little bit different. So Seesaw for Schools is the paid version, where the school has paid a certain amount per each student who is involved in Seesaw. So they are taking care of it. They have the admin end of it covered, and they probably are also setting up your classes. So it's a little bit of a nicer situation. That's the situation I'm in, and it's a lot cleaner looking. Like, you can really kind of get your hands on it. On that case, if you're brand new to it and the school's saying you must use it for all 700 students, then again, start small if you're just your feet wet. So that starting small means have them reflect on their journal. Because right now, if you're like me, your parents view your class as a concert preparation class, and they see your product on the stage. Seesaw gives the ability of your curriculum to go to their mobile devices. So now you are not just concert preparation, you are reflection, you are integration, you are composition, you are music making, you are doing music, you are performing music, you are moving to music, your cultural integration, everything. And if the first year, just have them reflect, have them take a picture of this is one I showed in my Seesaw class. Take a picture of something and then draw and reflect on it, or take a picture of music and sing, and whatever it might be. If you have preschool, sing yourself, sing the songs that you're doing in class, put them on the journal, so the parents and caregivers are like, wow, that's what you're singing, and you can all sing together at home. As you get more familiar and comfortable with Seesaw, the more you'll be able to do. The activity library inside of Seesaw is it's free. And it's absolutely free. If you have the free version or if you have the paid version, the activity library is there for you to use. It's like a free teachers pay teachers within Seesaw. So you can actually assign assessments, retrieval practice. You can assign, activities, lessons, anything. You can assign anything to your students, and then they do the work and hand it back to you, but in such an intuitive way, especially for your younger learners where they are struggling with Google Classroom, Schoology, Canvas, things like that. here Seesaw, and I could show you, like, and if you're in my Seesaw class, you've heard it. Like Sarah was walking around, just in kindergarten, taking a picture of a book, writing on it, and saying, "You have to open the book," But Seesaw was very easy for her to figure this out. Like, this is what you do. So with the 700 kids, there's a lot you can do with it. It depends where you are, what support you have. And that age-old question, do I join the classroom teacher or not? It really depends on the school culture. My advice always is, if you're starting with Seesaw, join with the classroom teacher, because they have more access to the caregivers than you do. And that is just a fact. And that way the parents and caregivers and families will be able to see your music class in that journal. Then once you start cluttering up the feed, you're going to have an enemy with that classroom teacher, and you need them as an ally. So then start your own class and say, you know what? Thanks so much. You've been awesome. I'm going to go over here. And they're going to be like, oh, thank goodness, because I didn't want to have to tell you that. So that's a good thing. And then the second question was about, so sharing activities. So you're on a school account and you want to share activities to your personal account. So what you're going to do is, can I share my screen? Is that possible, Katie?
Yeah. Do I need to give you permission?
No, I think I have it here.
Okay,
I just don't know what it's going to do
Yeah.
when I try. So I'm going to try to share the screen. It's going to show us in the mirror form, I think. It's going to be fun. All right, share the screen. Let's see what's coming on. All right, you know what? If I move it over to desktop 2, let me do that. Nope. Now I'm just moving us everywhere. And wait. That was supposed to work in theory. It totally didn't. Hold on.
What is it with today?
It was there, and somewhere Seesaw jumped off. Hold on one second. I'm going to bring it over here, and then we'll be able to see it. So when you're trying to share activities, it's the same way that you share activities. So when you share activities, and I'm sorry you're seeing my profile, I'm just trying to use my other monitor. When you share activities, every activity has its own link, so you can always share it. But when you're talking about libraries, that's really the way you want to share it. So if I'm over here, I'm going to get into, here we go. I'm going to share. I'm going to bring in what we've been working on.
Have you got it shared now? I'll click the button to make it.
Awesome. No. Yeah, here it comes.
Try again. Okay.
It should be up there.
Oh, yeah, I can see. Hold on. Add to stream. There we go.
There it is. Okay. So, I'm sorry, you're just going to see me turn to the side. So here, here's these activities. If I go into my activity library, which I'm going to show you some of the amazing activities that we have been creating in this class. I love it. So if I go, I'm going to try to full screen that so you don't have to see all the windows behind me. Much nicer. So if we go to these are so awesome. You really need to take this class if you're using Seesaw. So let's say the Mario Rhythm Challenge. Mercedes, so fabulous. So if I'm in my school account, I want to share it with my personal account, then I'm going to go over here to the bottom, and I'm going to share that activity. And here's where you can share it out. So I would highly suggest to just get the teacher link, copy it, and send it to yourself. That way, when you open it up from your personal account, it's going to go right into your library and save in there. And then you can just copy and edit it if you need to adapt it for some reason.
Really that's good to know. I've learned, that's me learning something new today. That's really good. So you would need to do that with each individual activity. There's not really a way to do it with everything at once. I'm guessing.
And that is different. Let me just show this one last thing. That's a little bit different than if you are trying to put it on Schoology. So let's say you've created Seesaw, but and they have a Seesaw, but you're going to link everything through Google Classroom, Schoology, things like that. First, you have to assign the activity in the class. And once it's here in the activities tab, go to those 3 dots and get student link. When you get the student link, then you can put that on a Google Classroom. They click it and it puts them right over into Seesaw. That's important to know. And that I feel is not as intuitive as it could be. So I hope that answers it. And sorry, that was a long answer. I will stop the screen share. There we go.
No, that's fabulous. I think it's great. The thing I've learned about Seesaw after sort of watching you do your thing with Seesaw for as long as I have is that whole aspect of championing what's that word? Advocating.
Championing, yeah,
Advocating.
advocate, sure, yeah.
Yeah, advocating what you're doing in the classroom and allowing
Yes.
parents to kind of buy into that and see what the kids are doing. It's just so great. And just so you know, I know that people have this question often. You as the teacher have complete control. You're the gatekeeper. You have complete control over what parents do or don't see. So they generally just see their own child's work, not everybody else's. But there are occasions where you as a teacher can say, hey, the whole class did this awesome project and here's what it was, and you can share it to all the parents. So it's just a great thing. Amy once said in a conference session I saw you present, it was something like, do I want my music class to be in the pocket of every parent because it's on their phone, the Seesaw app, and they can open it up while they're waiting in the post office and see what's happening in music class. Like, that's so cool. It's such a great way to think about, using a tool like that. So, all right. I'm going to pick another question to one of the questions I thought was a really useful one. Julie asked how basically tips for teaching face-to-face and virtual students at the same time. Oh my gosh, awful situation. I'm so sorry, Julie, but I know you're not the only one in that situation, and man, it's hard. And I think, Amy, you've done that to a certain degree, haven't you? So you should speak to this.
Yeah. Well, first of all, whatever your advice is to get through that, use it. Some people it's exercise, some it's alcohol, forgive yourself and use it. It's some of the things I did that worked was that when I had the students live in front of me and then the other ones were logging into the classroom, I would just find old devices or let them, I didn't really want them to use their device, but if they had to, they could. And I buddied up the person who is online with a person who is live. So like when we came up to our holiday concert last year, we were doing all movement. It was going to be a video concert. And yeah, yes, I agree.
Jen says
yes, it's the hardest thing.
ever.
So I would find the most responsible student. Like it can't be the student who's like, maybe I'll follow the rules. No, it has to be the student who's like the rule follower. And I gave them the buddy. And so they sat there and in front of the screen, they taught the child all the moves. And then we recorded the child from home and we included her right into the video. But that was very successful for me, was to assign buddies. They really made it clear to my younger students that it is someone I choose. It's not something I'm going to put on the wheel of names and let it just randomly choose. I said, this is something I have to choose. I said, we really have to make the person who's logging in feel included. Yeah. So that was my biggest trick that I used that worked quite well. I felt
super hard. I've heard other teachers who have maybe kind of done like a centers model. So they might set the students in their class physically with them. They might set them going on some kind of task, and then they are teaching to the remote group, and then it switches around a little bit. So you leave the remote kids to do some work on their own, and then you're back to the in-person students. But it's so super hard. You're never going to be able to really teach to your best capacity with groups like that. It's just, I think it's survival, case of survival, get through as best you can. So that centres type idea, independent activities for different groups maybe. And it depends on the split of remote versus in-person. If it's just a couple of remote students and then the rest of the class are with you, obviously that's one thing. If it's half, oh my gosh, total nightmare. I don't know. Super hard. I don't know in what world the administrators think that was a good idea, but I know that things are beyond people's control, so that's just the way it has to be sometimes. So hopefully a couple of those tips might be a help. I feel like there's been a few articles written online. I don't know if Aileen Miracle's written something about that. Anyway, I know she was teaching all remotely pretty much. Okay, so next question. Another one, probably Amy's going to know the answer to this one too. Thank goodness you're here, right? This question is from someone this is from Elliot, I hope I've said that name correctly, who's teaching preschool, so 2 to 5-year-olds and is looking for some fun tools that will motivate the class and keep them engaged. And they've also mentioned gross and fine motor games to support other subjects through music class. So that's probably a little bit of a bonus if there's something that meets all of those. But yeah, so what do you reckon, Amy? I mean, I've got a few ideas, but I'll let you go first because, again, you're teaching that age group.
Yeah, the mixed age, if it's mixed, that's one thing also. I'm not sure if these mean they teach separately 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds and 4 and 5.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, mine are mixed. I have high 2-year-olds to high 5-year-olds, all mixed. And this year I had, 12, like sometimes 15, I want to say. Maybe it was 12 at most. It felt like 15. And it was like 40 minutes and no one in the room with you. And that is challenging. I love the question about the fine and gross motor skills. So a couple of resources I would work with. The first one is Denise Gagne's Music Play online. So you can catch her classic version. I think you can access for free. I have a subscription to her beta version.
Yeah, I still have access to the classic version. Like there's a lot in there. There's a whole heap of stuff in there. She's got an amazing resource.
So Denise is there, Gagne is up there in Canada, and I'm sorry, up there for me is Canada.
Way up there for me.
Like someone might be like, she's right next door. But it's really, she just has such a wonderfully laid out program where you start, she's Kodai and Orff-Schulerk influenced. And what she does with the preschool is really wonderfully integrated into what might be going on in a preschool classroom. So if they're learning phonics and they're learning sounds with their letters, she's also incorporating that into her materials. Her videos, she usually shows you her teaching these 2 preschoolers. So you're sitting there going, if it didn't work for me, let me look at that video because it has worked. It's not that she just created this in her head. She's done this. This is researched and tested. And then the other one I use, of course, is Dr. Feyerabend's First Steps in Music. So I teach a mommy/caregiver and me program for ages 0 to 3. And then I have preschool from high 2s to high 5s in a mixed group. So I used his First Steps in Infants and Toddlers and his First Steps in Music. First Steps in Music is based on an 8-step workout, going from pitch exploration to song tales to improvisation to movement. And that is a really nice scope and sequence that he gives. Not so much translates to technology. And that's one of the things I address in the book I wrote. And it's one of the things, if you were at their conference, I addressed. So that to make it so if your students are concurrent, or if you're still trying to teach, you're having to teach remote, the way to keep them engaged if you are using that scope and sequence of the 8 steps. And again, there's so many different ways to keep them engaged. It's really just kind of thinking outside the boxes since they're not in front of you. How are you going to engage them since they're in a screen? But those 2 resources are wonderful for ages 2 to 5. They really are research-based. The students like it a lot. You can do a lot with it. And as you get into it, you start to realize the more you can do.
Yeah. And Denise has a lot of like lovely games, like it's sort of game-based play, and they're sort of small, short games, or some of them are anyway, and you can just bring them up and work through, it's like note reading or rhythm exercises and that sort of thing. So, so fabulous. And other things just generally, I mean, Chrome Music Lab as an engaging tool has worked for a lot of teachers. There's so much you can do with it. It's almost like some people look at it and go, oh, what can I do with this? Like it's just sort of fun little games. But I think there's a lot of things you can actually do with it, and you can use it as a springboard for other activities. And actually, while I'm mentioning that, there was a question about Chrome Music Lab and whether it was suitable just for young students or would it work okay with middle school? And my answer to that would be absolutely with middle school. There's like 13 different tools. I think it's 13, maybe it's 14 now. And I think almost all of them I could definitely see working with middle school. A lot of them are science of sound based. So you could just use something on the Chrome Music Lab as a springboard for talking about harmonics or, the length of a string and how that works with pitch. And I don't know, there's a lot of other things. There's what's that one that I love? Oh, now I've forgotten the name of it. The
Song.
Oscillators.
Oh yeah,
The
I was like,
Oscillators, which look like little Mr. Man characters, which are
yes.
fantastic for talking about frequency and pitch and comparing those things and how they relate to one another. So definitely middle school. The most popular part of Chrome Music Lab is the Songmaker. I think that's been well used by everybody with all age groups. I mean, I think it's great. I've actually got, I'll see if I can grab a link, but I did a lesson about Star Wars music, so the Star Wars theme, and that was definitely, middle school right up that alley. So I know lots of teachers who tried it with middle school. So yeah, so give that a go. All right, I'm picking this question to answer next, which is this is from Monica, who was asking about playing music through a speaker in class. Essentially, her question was actually in the old days, she played her program music using an iPod connected with a wire to a speaker. I love this, how specific you were, Monica, because I was like, yeah, everybody, we all did that. Like we literally had physically a plug, and now it's all like everything's Bluetooth and
Mm-hmm.
streaming and weird
Mm-hmm.
things. And she said, can you share with me what specific equipment I would need to up my game? And this, in my mind, this relates a little bit to another question we had about how to play DVDs onto a Promethean board. So we might just answer both of these at the same time, because in my mind, there's kind of like the one solution that I would use for both of these. So she's saying she also needs a way to play or load the music that she has purchased, and she can't do that currently on the iPad, and she's lost music library and blah, blah, blah. So the way I do everything, and I think probably the same with Amy, I have everything on my laptop. And essentially, I don't use Apple Music anymore. I've moved to Spotify. Now, you don't have to move to Spotify to do this, but I personally use Spotify the most. You could be using Apple Music, in which case you can open up that app. It used to be called the iTunes app on your Mac or your iPod or your phone, but now you actually open up the thing called Apple Music. It might even just be called Music, to be honest. I can't remember. So you open that on your laptop, and you can access your library from all your devices in the same way. So that's what I would do. I open it up, and then I'm literally plugging my laptop in to the speaker, either through a wire or using a Bluetooth speaker. And the only time I would use a Bluetooth speaker is if it wasn't totally crucial for that music to play. So if I'm in a concert situation and I need to play a backing track, personally, I would not use a Bluetooth speaker. I feel like Amy's the same. I feel like I've heard you say that
Mm-hmm.
too. I would be hard wiring into whatever speaker I'm using at that point. But for class time, in front of your year 3 students or whatever, Bluetooth would be totally fine. So that's what I do. So no matter whether it's Spotify or Apple Music or any other music, Amazon Music, whatever you're using, that's how I do it. I open it up on my laptop and then just play it through the speaker. And just on the DVD thing, I do the same thing with movies as well, or videos. It's on my laptop in some way, whether I'm accessing it through YouTube or I've got the actual video file on my laptop. I'm playing it on the laptop, and that just happens to be attached to the Promethean board, the data projector, the smart board, and it's visually just showing what's on my laptop. So tell me about your solution, Amy. Are you similar to me? And Phil's just confirming, yes, it's just the
Yes,
Apple
it
one
is
is just
just
called Music.
music. Yeah. I understand that why, like, for people our age, where we uploaded everything to iTunes. Like we
Yeah,
were
I
there
know.
when the first iPod came out,
I had it
and
all, yeah.
so we
Ripped
up.
all my CDs into,
Yeah, so
yeah.
I ripped it all in, and the thing is, like, I have a subscription to Apple Music, but it's not going to have the MTI who's still
Yeah.
sending me CDs. Like, I have to go find like some device that can
Yeah.
stick a CD in. I'm hoping that's changed, but like before we went to the pandemic lockdown in 2020, we did the Addams Family, and I was still uploading CDs. So I have the subscription to Apple Music because I uploaded so much from my classroom curriculum onto Apple Music. Same thing, Katie. Like in my classroom, I can Bluetooth. I have a Samsung Expedition. It's a nice system. and it Bluetooths beautifully, and it's great. In my classroom, it's the size of a rectangle. It's perfect. I'm not going to move out of anywhere that's going to cause anything. And with my watch and everything, this is wonderful. I go in Apple Music and I can pause so easily for my watch. So I have my remote control and everything's working. In the Performing Arts Center, it's like no. We had our summer musical adventure, our summer adventure experience, and I was doing music with this. And this was the last 2 weeks in June. So at the end of each week, we were doing a performance in the Performing Arts Center. The first week, I brought my oldest daughter, Michaela, in, and I gave her my laptop, and it was all Bluetooth. It was Bluetooth from that. She's sitting in the middle. The tech booth is behind her. That's where the AirPlay is. It's all Bluetooth going through the system onto the screen. Beautiful. The next week, it's the same setup. It's 1 week later, and it was like, I swear it was like Apple AirPlay was like, yeah, good luck with that today. I'm out. It was like
The
July
wind
2nd.
was blowing the wrong way.
I swear it was like, I don't work today. No one else is working today. I'm not going to work. So I had to I'm like, Michaela, grab it, go up to the booth. And I'm like, we are hardwiring in. Found the VGA cable. I was like, here we go. Like, here, like the 1/8-inch jack. Like everything went in, and it was like beautiful. And she was like, why?
Gosh.
But
Yeah,
so
I just it's too worrying to rely on it, I think, in the high pressure situations. So we've
yeah.
actually got Monica on at the moment, and she's saying thank you so much for the information. And yeah, the question about, she said her iTunes music has gone, so this is helpful. And then Phil has asked why has it gone? Like, where has it gone? Which I was wondering too, like where has it gone? Maybe you had a different Apple account. So I mean, in essence, once you've put stuff into iTunes, it's attached to your iTunes login, your Apple login, your Apple ID. And then even if you switched to laptops, or if I borrowed Amy's laptop, I could in theory log into my iTunes or Apple Music account and I should be able to see everything that's in there. So I'm not sure what's happened. Oh, hang on, she's answered. It was
Yeah,
purchase
she
music for
answered it.
program. There used to be upload. Oh, somewhere along the way, iTunes grayed out everything I purchased. Right. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know why that is. I think at some point they had a switchover of copyright kind of rules. Is that right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Because Monica, that's happened to some of my purchases, but not a lot that it threw me. But I know exactly what you're talking about. There's like these grayed out areas. But what
Yeah.
I've done, if I've purchased it, I've gone back into my account, and like, I know I've Googled this a few times because it's grayed out, and then I go find it was not purchased from iTunes. It was a copyright issue. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there are
We're
some that
guessing
mine
correct.
grayed out too, and I had to go back into my account and download it again for some reason or something. But I
Yeah.
knew I purchased it. I knew that.
Yeah, I think I've had that issue too. And it's hard because you may not have the original. If you had done it from a CD yourself, you might not have that CD anymore. I've actually, some people get shocked when I say that I've actually gotten rid of almost all CDs from my house, almost all. A couple of years ago, I'm like, okay, I think it's time to let these go now because I have been using Spotify and Apple Music so much. So, yeah, but yeah, I think there's possibly a way to fix that. But yeah, it's hard to know without sort of seeing and knowing exactly what it is. Anyway, I think that's been a little bit of help for her. So that's a good thing. So yeah, the DVD thing, same sort of thing. If you've got the actual video file, I would probably just get the DVD and put that onto my laptop. And then I know someone's going to say, I don't have a DVD CD drive anymore. There are ways of getting it onto there. You can get like external CD drives. Is that what they're called? I guess that's what they're called.
Yeah.
And plug them in USB and then take the file from one to the other. But yeah, this is kind of like the way moving forward, I think. So you kind of got to make it work somehow. I'm just having a look at other questions. Oh, Scott asked a question about BandLab, so we might tackle that one next. And this was a question about, so BandLab, for those who don't know, is like an online GarageBand type program where you can record music in and you can bring up a software instrument on the screen and play something. Fantastic tool. It's very much like Soundtrap and BandLab. People are often using one or the other, or GarageBand. And the question was, any advice about safeguarding children when using BandLab? This is for middle school, want to get it approved by the school, but need to convince the powers that be of its safety. So the thing that I think not everybody realizes at first, and especially if you just say BandLab to your school administration and they Google BandLab, they're going to land on the public. They have a word for it, the public version. I call it the public version of the website. There's a better version, a better word for it. It's not the Education BandLab website is the point. So what you need to do is send them the link to education.bandlab.com or bandlab.education.com. Google it and the precise URL, because that is specifically set up for schools. And once you set up your account as a teacher with that, you end up with a private walled garden environment. So it's a safety, they've got all of the safety things ticked, like COPPA compliance and FERPA and whatever all the others are. There's many acronyms involved, but if you have a look there, basically you need to do that. You have to go to the BandLab education site and set up your account there. And then you are in a private environment for you and your students. So that's the place that you would need to send the school administration. I know that many school admins have just gone BandLab and they've looked it up and gone, nah. I think this person said it was they think it's like a social media site. I heard someone say that, and it's probably because the generic public one is designed to be that. It's collaboration with people you don't know from around the world, which you definitely don't want for your students. So yeah, once you're in your private account, you can organise collaboration between your students, and it can be not with anyone else in the world. A lot safer. So hopefully that's a help. Definitely do that. Same thing with Soundtrap. If you're looking at Soundtrap, you're not getting the free generic version that everybody in the public gets. You want to get the education version. All right. What else is there? Here's a question. You might know the answer to this one. I couldn't think of one off the top of my head. Talia's asked, do you know of any iPad games for practicing compound meters? We already use Rhythm Cat, but it doesn't offer compound meters.
Hold on. I got my iPad here.
I feel like one of those, there's a couple of ones which are they're not like pretty fun ones. They're like more...
They're dry. They're really dry.
Yeah. This comes down to my question, and maybe I'll ask everybody a question who's on as well, which I just did ask in my community about note reading apps, same sort of thing. There's not much around now which is online. Someone needs to invent one quickly. There's a big hole in the market.
Yeah. Maybe NoteWorks. That one probably has compound meters, but you're gonna have to pay to get to that portion of it.
I quite like that one. Yeah, I used to use
and that one's not as dry. It is on the younger side with the whole chomping thing.
Yeah, it's a very bizarre premise, that game. It's I found that really early on in my iPad, like when I first got my iPad in 2010. It's been around forever.
Yeah,
and it's called NoteWorks, and it's got like this weird farm kind of theme where there's a machine that chomps notes if you get them right. I don't know, it's very bizarre. Sometimes you wonder what developers were on when they came up with concepts.
What about rhythm training? I can't remember if this
I was thinking of that one, and there's another one. They've all got very similar names, Rhythm something or other, which is more dry as well. It won't be as fun and pretty looking.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Rhythm Trainer, that's the one. The two that I'm thinking of allow you to even do, this is not what the question was, but they allow you to do rhythms independently with your two hands, which I loved as a concept. Like you can tap the beat with your left hand while you tap the rhythm with your right, and vice versa, or you can have two simultaneous rhythms going. And that one and the other one, which I can't think of, both do the same thing.
I know the one you're thinking of. I do. I'm just wondering if it doesn't work anymore when iOS changed to 11.
Oh yeah, and Dan, Bless you, Dan. He's in the other chat window. I've
Yes,
just seen
he
your
is.
comment.
Yep.
Rhythm Randomizer. Yeah, Rhythm Randomizer.
Yeah.
It's not an iPad app as such, but it's an online option. Yeah, he's just saying Rhythm Randomizer has 6, 8, 9, 8, and 12, 8, so which is probably
But
enough.
you can make any website in Safari as an iPad app because you can save that right on there. So if you open it up in Safari, you can then put that right onto your iPad home screen, and
Yes,
they just click on it like an app, but it's going
and
to
it
launch in
opens. Yeah,
Safari. Yeah, so
yeah, that's a
that's
good
a nice
idea.
way, and that's great, Dan. If we put Rhythm Randomizer in Safari and then save that right onto the screen, they have it as an iPad app.
Yeah, that would be good. And it's got that option to send the link out. Like if you've got kids on multiple devices, you can send the
Yeah.
link from the Randomizer, which has everything set up with the parameters that you want, which time signature, which rhythms and stuff.
Mhm.
So if Dan's watching us in that chat window, it might mean that the normal page is working again, which is good news.
Dan, answer us if you're only listening to us because there's nothing on that page. All I
Oh,
see is the piggy bank with the little dollar
yeah.
sign coming out of it. But he seems to be the only one talking in the chat.
He's talking to
So
himself.
I keep coming back there to say, come join us on YouTube. But Dan, I'm really curious. Do you see us on the screen? Because I'd
On that
love
chat
to
window.
know. Yeah, because all I see is the piggy bank.
Could be a caching thing, but I don't know. I just couldn't work
It
it
is
out in the end, the
all
tech issues.
good. It's all good.
All right, I'm moving on. Now, if anyone who's watching live has a question and they didn't pre-submit it, feel free to type it into one of the many chat windows, one of the 2 chat windows, and we will answer on the spot if we can. I've got a few more on the pre-submitted list, so we can go through those. Mary
He
Claire
says,
Brown.
hold on. He
Oh, sorry,
does
go
say,
on.
I see you on the main window of your site. I don't see us on the main window of our site.
No.
Let me click play and see if that's what's going on. Now I still
Oh,
see, if you see Katie
last one.
dressed in blue, that is the
Not
last one.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Lucky
I'm
I
dressed
changed
the
my
same, so
outfit.
it's too hard to tell with me. But Katie's hair is up and dressed in blue. That's the last over there. So I don't know. Elise says she's here too. All right. I'm so glad you can see us.
Okay.
I
All
can't
right.
see
It's
us
working on the
on that
site too.
screen.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let me reload that page. Maybe it is working.
Try it in incognito, Amy.
I love going
Yeah.
incognito.
So here's a tip for those
Oh,
watching.
there it is. You are working.
Yay.
Woohoo!
Okay, good. All right. We'll keep an eye on both chat windows, whether you're
I'm
on,
there.
Eileen on YouTube has just said it's an old video. Yeah. I think there's going to be a bit of both. If you had the old one loaded, it may still be thinking you are looking at that again. Anyway.
Yeah.
Tech issues, honestly. It was a whole rigmarole this morning, I'll just have to say. And honestly, it's the first time it's happened really in a couple of years, so I can't complain. There we go. Mary Claire Brown asked, do you know where I can find some good digital versions of the Kodai hand signs? And it would be great for, adding into Google Slides and things. Oh, Amy wants to answer this one. Go.
I just put it in the Seesaw website resources. So Katie, give yours and I'm going to put it in there.
Cool.
There's someone put it on free Teachers Pay Teachers.
Yes,
So
I was
let
going to
me
say
find the link and I'll put
the
it
ones
in
that
the
I've seen
chat.
are Teachers Pay Teachers. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about making a set of my own and putting there on Teachers Pay Teachers already. There is a chromatic set. I thought maybe to add some chromatic notes in as well and not just have the 2. Tammy, yes, I'll get back to incognito, Tammy, in a second. Yeah, but I've got sets of other things like notation library and a chord library for ukulele and guitar and body percussion images. And I thought it would be good for me to add in Kodai. So I may make my own as well, just so that I'm not sharing someone else's images. And, I don't want to breach copyright or anything. But there are a couple of great sets on Teachers Pay Teachers. There is a paid set of a really big variety of skin tones. I think there's about 6 or 8 different skin tones, and it's the Dancing Crayons account, or 2 Dancing Crayons. Is that the name of the account? Anyway, that person, I think it's a she. She has a lovely set of Kodai hand signs. So it's only a few dollars anyway, I think, hers to purchase, but really useful just to have. And then you get separate PNG images that you can manipulate in Google Slides and things.
In
There we go.
each
Amy's put a link
Yeah,
there for
in
one of
each
them. That's
chat,
great.
yeah. These are
Yeah.
downloadable solfege hand signs.
Cool. Oh, that's good. Excellent.
Yes.
So getting back to incognito window, Tammy. So I use this all the time. And if you are finding, well, I use it for two reasons. One thing is if a website is not quite working, and I suspect it should be working, or I just want to check it, I don't know, in a different way, I will in Chrome or any browser, you can go to File, New Incognito Window. So this is not a regular window; it's an incognito window. And what you're doing when you open up an incognito window is opening up something where you're not logged into anything. So sometimes you'll see an incorrect website because you are logged in and you're seeing something different to, you know, just any old random person that visits that web page. So sometimes I will just check things that way. One of the main reasons I use it is if I want to see the view of a page that I have set up, as if I was a student, for instance. So if I'm a teacher logged into a teacher account for something, and then I want to see what the student sees, you might know that if you are in, let's say you're in, Flipgrid's probably a good example. If you're in Flipgrid, sometimes when you are viewing things, you're seeing what the teacher sees, the teacher view of the Flipgrid page, and you need to really make sure you're clicking on the view as student link, and then you can see it as a student. But then you actually need to log in as that student. Sometimes I just do that in an incognito window, and I'm not messing anything up that I'm working on. It's just there separately. It's a great way to just check things. I frequently do it for Google Docs. You know, when you're sharing a link to a Google Doc and you're thinking, did I set those permissions correctly on the Google Slides thing? So I will get the share link and open it incognito. And I do this every single time without fail. This is my check before I send anything out. Open it in incognito and it will show you whether that link is set correctly for any random person to view, or whether it's only set for me or even people of my business, my organization. If you work at a school and you're a Google school, you can set permissions so that anyone with the link can view, but it might be set to just people in your district or your school. And just sometimes you don't realize. So check it in incognito mode and it's fantastic. Great. Excellent. Missing some questions. Oh, Jen, I was just reading Jen's comment. She's missed a few questions because her son was scared of the music movie that we ended up watching. Yeah. One of my sons was always scared of all the movies, and the other one could not care at all and watched anything anytime. So we had some viewing sessions, which was one son only and not the other one because he was too scared. So Tammy, yes, on Windows or Mac or anything. So you can use it. It's browser based. So you in Chrome or in Safari or in Firefox or whatever else you're using. Just a really good, great checking mechanism. And it's something that you just kind of need to remember that you can do each time you need to check something. Always check in incognito. I use that every day without fail, every day. It's a great thing. Right. Checking another question here. Let's have a look here. Oh, yeah, actually, let's just tackle Becky. I did answer Becky. Becky is a member of the community, so Midnight Music community, and she had a couple of questions actually about notation related things. So the first question was, what is the, well, actually, she had the first question was, she has been using Sibelius. She's getting a new laptop. She was kind of wondering whether to switch notation programs. She wasn't so fussed about staying with Sibelius, or maybe she should stay with Sibelius, or which other program should she consider or not. And I thought it would be useful just to mention in this webinar that things have shifted a lot in the last week in the notation world. It's been a little bit crazy. And it's such a niche little area. And, you know, 99% of people on the planet, probably even more than that, would not even care about this. But in the notation world, like big news. Which is that a few years ago, there was like very limited options for notation and it was a laptop only. And now, and especially as of last week, there is a multitude of options for any device that almost any device you're on, laptops and iPads particularly. But yeah, Jim's just mentioned as well. So iPad apps have been released for both Sibelius and Dorico. And Dorico is a professional level notation program like Sibelius and Finale. They are kind of like the top 3 professional level ones. So Sibelius, Finale, and Dorico, I mean, for years have famously not had iPad apps available, and you've had to, if you wanted to use a notation program on your iPad, you had to use something else and then maybe export the file from that, send it to one of your other desktop programs if you wanted to edit further, and kind of do file transfer that way, sort of back and forth exporting and so on. But in the last week, very strangely, within 24 hours, Dorico released theirs, I think Wednesday for me last week, and then Thursday, the Sibelius one came out. And it is quite miraculous that they were so close together. I saw a comment under, I think, the Dorico video, like introduction to Dorico on iPad, which said, or maybe it was the Sibelius one saying, oh, just like copying Dorico, were you? And I'm thinking, do you really think the Sibelius team in 24 hours managed to develop an entire iPad app and get it approved by Apple? And
Yeah.
we're talking months or years of work here. So it did make me laugh a little bit. No, there is no way they could have copied one another like that. It's months of development. But to answer the question, for Becky, it's just her arranging on her Sibelius copy for choir. She has fairly simple needs. And it's her only, not her using the notation with her class or her students at school. So the answer to the question for her that I would give is probably different to, like, I'm a teacher of year 8 students and I want them all to use notation programs. So what should they use? I mean, that's 2 totally different answers, really. So for Becky, I said, if you can get Sibelius working, probably just stick with that because you know it, unless you really want to put the time into learning a whole new program. But I did say to her, Dorico would be a great one to check out. And yeah, the answer to the other question, like if you have got students and you want to use notation programs, well, you have so many options nowadays. It's really so many. There's Noteflight and Flat, which are both cloud-based. Great options if you are, particularly if you're working with younger students. I think they would be my go-tos. Younger students through maybe to middle school. Older students, tertiary students, absolutely. Look at Sibelius, Dorico, Finale. At that level of use, really any of the 3 options is a good option. It's not like one is like, oh my gosh, much more amazing than the others. They are all different. They work differently. You've just got that iPad thing now. So if you have some students on iPads or you want them to be able to use it on 2 different devices and kind of go back and forth, sometimes I'm on my iPad, sometimes I'm on my laptop. Dorico and Sibelius would be good ones to look at. But that's a long answer to that part of the question, I think, anyway. Yeah. So yes, exciting news. I had a tiny play with both the Sibelius and the Dorico apps, and they're both really good. It's just it's a different experience on iPad because suddenly you can't hover your mouse, of course. You need to tap on something. But the tapping, the actual just like pinpointing something on your score and selecting it with your finger, again, is really good. Like it's a great thing to be able to do. I was a little bit quicker picking up the Sibelius one only because I've used Sibelius much more than Dorico, but the Dorico one's kind of got more things showing on the screen, and I think the Dorico one's going to be more the app which you could use standalone as just that app on its own without using the desktop version, whereas I think the Sibelius one's going to work best at this point in time anyway, as kind of like your mobile option with the desktop app, if that makes sense. Yeah, the note drag thing, Jim's just saying, yeah, you had a little play too by the looks. Yeah, I did too. I think you're talking about the keypad. So Sibelius has this little keypad in the corner, which if you've used it before, you've seen that on the desktop version. So the first thing I did was I could not work out, because I have a thing when I open up a new app or software program, I try to go as long as possible without looking up any help or looking for a tutorial video, just to see how much I can do. And I did this with the Sibelius app. So I worked out how to change my rhythmic value. And now I'm like, how on earth do I add a pitch? Like I couldn't work it out because I was tapping in the bar, but no, that just selected the rest that I had there. I was like, how on earth do I add a pitch? So essentially you select say quarter note in the keypad, and you leave your finger on the quarter note, and you basically slide it up or down, and that makes the pitch show on the stave and moves it up and down the stave. I think that's probably what you're talking about, Jim, which is sort of weird. The first time I did it, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like that. And then after about one bar, I was like, oh, this is really quite quick, and you can get quite fast in entering notes. So yeah, so I did like it. My tip is, the first thing I had I decided to just put a round into Sibelius. It was Viva la Musica, which starts with a dotted quarter note, and I couldn't work out how to add the dotted quarter note. Like, I got to the quarter note and the dot. Anyway, you need to tap quarter note, then dot, and then slide your finger up and down on the dot, because that's the last thing you've added to get the pitch. Anyway, that was my little tip. So yeah, that worked quite well. It was fun. I will play more with both of them and everything else. So yeah, it takes a long time to play with an app in order to offer a really good opinion about it, but I will attempt to do that in the next little while. Yeah, so Dan said same thing happened to him. Yeah, so that's that. Go and explore them. You can download both of the Sibelius and Dorico iPad apps for free, and then at the point that you want to do more with them, that's when you'll pay. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, Phil's saying for stuff with the kids, I use Noteflight. That's kind of like my go-to as well. I really like Noteflight. A lot of people like Flat. I know Jen, who's on at the moment, she prefers Flat with her kids and to use herself. And I think it is a personal thing. Flat has some extra amazing features which are not in any of the other programs, including Kodai hand signs that you can automatically add to your melody. It will show that tiny little icons of hand signs, beautiful, underneath the notes. You can just press a button and they all magically appear. So none of the others have that, as far as I know. There you go. We could talk about notation a lot. I may do a webinar in the next 3 months or so on notation stuff, because there's so much more to talk about. And then Becky's other part of the question, which I haven't quite gotten to the bottom of, was what's the name of a program that will read a score and convert it to PDF and then enable you to export individual parts? She said with singing, and I just can't think of one. So maybe I have talked about it, but I don't remember. But the answer to that is scanning apps, really. There's specific music scanning apps which you can use that will convert your printed sheet music into an editable score in your notation program. And there's, again, many options. So what am I saying? Photo score. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Gosh, all the names are just swimming in my head right now. There's an iPad, a phone one that I use. Yeah, sheet music scanner. Is that the one?
Yeah, but I love Notate Me Now. I gotta
Notate Me
tell
Now.
you.
Notate Me. That's what I'm thinking of.
Well,
Sorry,
one is free and one is not. Yeah. And
Notate Me, the full blown, is expensive, but totally worth it if you're going to scan a lot of scores. Notate Me Now is the free version. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you can handwrite, and it translates your handwriting into real notation.
Yeah.
It's not real.
No, I find it to scan quite well. I think there was one time I had to scan the piccolo part to Seesaw. And yeah, I just used the free version of Notate Me, and I got the piccolo part, and I could use it right away.
So good. Yeah, so good. Sheet music scanner's a great one to look at. It used to be free. I feel like maybe it's a few dollars now. It's a great one even if your students are learning, they don't read music fluently and can't like hear it in their head while they're reading the music. Sheet music scanner, you can just, you're literally scanning, it's like you're taking a photo of the music, and then you can press play and hear the photo play back. It's not a photo, it's an actual scanned piece of music. But sheet music scanner can be useful as a learning tool as well as when you need to edit the score. So definitely. Yeah, Jim's saying, the scanning and playback apps, they have definitely improved a lot. I always knew the technology would get better over time. There's still a few things, they're kind of quirky. And if you look at a score and there are lots of dotted rhythms and syncopated rhythms and lots of short notes, lots of beams and stuff, it's not going to do as good a job as if it's just crotchets and quavers, quarter notes and half notes. Just the more straightforward the music, the better result you're going to get. And you'll have to do fixing up if it's complex sort of music, but they are a lot better than they used to be. So definitely check it out. And on this note, I'll let you answer this one, Amy. Digitizing general PDFs, not music, but normal PDFs for worksheets and so on. How can you digitize them to make students able to write on them and change them and that sort of thing?
Cami all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
The Cami extension. I watched my daughter last year in elementary school just constantly use the Cami extension, and I was blown away. Those Seesaw can do it too. You can put, oh yeah,
good.
which I love. It has the magnifying tool in it, and this blew me away. Sarah was doing a math problem, so this sheet had all these tiny math problems on it, and then she just showed me in Seesaw, if you hit the magnifying glass, it blows it up, so the one math problem you can see. So she drew it, she did all of the whole thing, and then when she diminished it, the whole problem went right with the math problem, and
Wow.
it just sucked right into the sheet, and I was like, that is amazing.
That's so good.
So I didn't
So
know
did it end
Seesaw
up looking like she wrote tiny?
Yes,
Like
that was like, I had no idea Seesaw could do that. I was
so
a little
cool.
blown away, like, that she was doing this. So yeah, and like, but Cami, Cami is fabulous for that. Just writing right on it and handing it right
Yeah,
back to the teacher.
I think so too. And it's K for those that haven't seen it before,
Yes,
Kami.
Kami, yeah.
And it's got like it's got this Chrome extension which the students need to install on their laptops in order to use it. So that maybe just keep that in mind, because that's a barrier for some people. They can only get Chrome extensions installed like at the beginning of the school year or not at all, or they have to go through 7 levels of approval or whatever. But, if you can install Chrome extensions, especially for the students, and now is a good time if you're in, sort of Northern Hemisphere and you're about to start school. Cami extension is a great one, and it's not just for music, it's for all subjects, so it would be useful for all the teachers. And then there's kind of like the desktop version as well, which as a teacher you can use. I think the students can use that sort of, not desktop, but you open it up in a web browser version as well. And they have some paid options, but I feel like you can do more with that one. There's the other option called Teacher Made, and Teacher Made used to be all free, but now it's a paid thing. So, which I get, like, you can't be developing software for nothing, seriously. But Teacher Made is another one to look at. But again, I think it's got less available in the free version than Cami does. I could be wrong about that. Yeah.
So Dan said Orbit Doc. He has Cami now in Schoology, and just discovered that we also have Orbit Doc. Patricia asked, I only use iPads. Can Chrome extensions be added to those?
No. No is the answer. Oh gosh, Amy, I'm gonna let you take over for a second. Hold on.
You have to find an app that will kind of or poor dog. You have to find an app that kind of works like that. That's the thing, like watching even Sarah just jump into Seesaw and do that. I had no idea. But yeah, when you're trying to use extensions and it's not going to do that in the iPad iOS version, then you're going for an app on that and trying to do something similar that an app can do. It's a very interesting subject, right? I'm going to look at some of her other. Oh, here she is back. All right,
Delivery at the door.
Jen has a question. Katie, do you have a recommendation for an iPad adapter to connect a USB keyboard? While you answer that, I'm going to look over at the others.
I would hold it up for you, except I'm using it to plug my microphone in my audio interface right now. It's just an Apple branded one. And so it has just a single USB, port, and then it plugs into the iPad. Actually, no, I can't be using that one right now because I do have a different one. It's in another room. So you'll just have to make sure that you purchase so it's USB to whatever for your iPad. So it might be to Lightning or to USB-C or whatever it is. Yeah. So yes, that's the one I do. My tip is to not use a generic brand because they don't work so well. The iPad knows that you're not using an Apple product and it goes, you know what? I don't like that one. And you can get like a different device which allows you to plug multiple USB things in to the one, through one port. But yeah, I've just got like the single one, and it works really well, really well. Same thing that I use for microphones. So it's the same adapter. If you need to plug both in, it's harder. You need a different type of thing for plugging two options in at the same time. Hopefully that answers that. I'm just checking the comments as well. Did we answer Patricia's question about Chrome extensions? We're talking about Cami, I'm guessing. I don't know if Cami has an app that can be used.
Let
Getting
me
back to that.
look. I can look.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the answer to that. So yeah, I would Google that perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jen's put a link in. Let me have a look. Hold on. Yes, like that. Yeah. There's a couple of different ones. That one's a good one. So Jen's, let me screen share. Hold on.
Yeah, there's an answer to the Cami for iOS. It can
Oh,
run on iOS. However, there is no iOS app using Cami on an iPad or Apple phone. Must be done through your browser. To access Cami on an iPad or iPhone, go to web.camiapp.com in your Chrome app. Click sign in and use your Google account details.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know. I hadn't tested that. Good. I'm jumping around back to the adapter for a second. I'll just share the picture that Jen had sent through. So this one here, there's a couple of different options you can get. This is the sort of wider one, and it's got the place to plug your USB whatever in, so microphone or keyboard or whatever. And in this little slot here, that's allowing you to plug your power in. So this part up here plugs into the place where you plug your charging cable. So once you've plugged in your MIDI keyboard or your microphone, that you then cannot charge your iPad, which is not good sometimes. And so this adapter has an extra little charging cable thingy there. So that's really useful. I have one which does not have that extra. I have one like this and one without this as well. So it just depends where you are. But it's always safer if you're charging at the same time as recording, because the recording, if you're using GarageBand, for instance, recording sucks your battery down quite quickly. All right, back to just us again. There we go. Don't you love StreamYard? I love just changing the things. All right, I'm going to just check back to the questions here. We'll go for a few more minutes, maybe answer a couple more questions. And
the YouTube channel wants Jen's link to what you were just talking about, but it actually is too long to put in the comments for YouTube.
If you just Google, actually, I'll type this in and you can all type it into your own Google. Lightning to USB 3 camera adapter. So it depends on your iPad though. If your iPad is not lightning at the end, if you know what I mean, like my most recent iPad is USB-C. So I would be Googling USB-C to USB camera adapter or just USB adapter. It should come up. In the olden days, like 2010, when iPads were first around, when you went into the store, you had to ask for the camera adapter, because originally the adapter was designed to plug your DSLR camera in so that you could get photos onto your iPad. And then a whole heap of musicians went, hang on a minute, if you can plug a USB camera in, I wonder if that will work with my USB keyboard or microphone. And sure enough, it did. But you still had to go and ask for the camera adapter in the Apple store, because the Apple people would go, I don't know what you're talking about plugging a microphone in. But now it's just called a USB adapter. So if you go into the store and ask for, I want a USB adapter for my iPad 6th generation or whatever, they will know what you're talking about. So it's good. Yeah, so it's good. Yeah. All right, awesome. All right, I'm just going to check back. We've gotten through most of them, Amy. We've done pretty well. There was a couple of non-tech questions, which I think we'll just leave, which was sort of just general music changing questions. Thanks for asking. There was this one question I sort of skipped over this. So this is the last one. Embedding creative composition and improvisation in music theory. So I guess this is Maura, tips for embedding creative composition and improvisation in music theory. And she's put in HE. And then I thought, I don't know what HE is. And then I thought, maybe is it higher education? Do we think that could be? Is
Yeah.
there an acronym? Is that something you're familiar with? I thought maybe it was a US thing. I didn't know.
Oh, well, I've been reading all about gender pronouns. So like when you you say
Oh,
he, I'm like, oh, they're telling you their
he.
pronouns. Yeah.
Oh.
So I think my mind's over here working on gender identification and making sure that all my students feel included in my classroom.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
that's where my head goes to it. But I do believe you're right. That's higher education.
Higher education, yep. When I read this, my first thought was actually, because the question was basically how to embed creative composition and improvisation into music theory. And my thought was actually that I would be doing the creative composition and improvisation, and the theory is kind of all tied up with that. I would be doing the creative part and then making the theoretical side more conscious by identifying what the students either were about to do or had already done. I don't know if that makes sense, if I'm making sense with that, but the theory to me is kind of all tied up with it. So Moira, if you're on, maybe you can give us some more information. Maybe there's a more specific sort of aspect you're thinking about. But in my mind, I tend to do things like, you're using, say, GarageBand, Soundtrap, BandLab to record something, maybe a backing, and then improvising over the top. And along the way of doing that, you would be talking about the fact that you're creating a backing using the 12-bar blues sequence, and the improvisation over the top is with the blues scale, minor blues scale, or whatever it is you're using. And so that's where, for me, the theory side of things would come into it. I don't know if that's quite answering the question, though. So maybe others can just sort of chime in on that if there's other thoughts. But really, if you're asking about which tech tools to use, I mean, really anything where students are able to create in some kind of way, even down to things like where there's a step sequence. So this is, I quite like the idea of using a step sequencer. So you've got like a grid on the screen. Let's say the Chrome Music Lab Songmaker. I know many of you are familiar with that. And so there's a grid on the screen where you can click and add notes into the grid. So you click and there's a red square appears, and that is the sound of a C. And you can, add one. You can't really change the rhythmic value, but you can place them in different places in the bar. But if you had students, even higher education students, creating something in the Chrome Music Lab, I would take it the next step of they have to take what they've created. You could even screenshot a picture of what they've made, and then they have to put that into a notation program and recreate it totally with like regular notation. And then the theoretical side kind of comes into it along the way. And same thing with drum sequencing tools like Groove Pizza or the drum sequencer in BandLab or Soundtrap. It's like, again, it's like dots on a screen, on a grid. You could get the students to then change that into, or transform it into notation, or vice versa even. Get them to recreate a rhythm they've notated into the other one. Does that answer the question, Moira? I'm not sure if it did really. Anyway, I think that's about it. That's the pre-submitted questions. We've had a couple live questions as well. I hope that was useful for some of you. And we'll be back not next month, in a couple of weeks' time, actually, with Wakelet webinar, which I sort of had planned for a little while and it's been postponed a couple of times. But I'm definitely going to do Wakelet webinar next month, the next time, a couple of weeks' time. And Wakelet, if you don't know, is a fantastic, totally free tool which allows you to collect and share links. And there's more to it than just that, because that makes it sound a little bit like Pinterest, but it's so much more than that. It's a fantastic tool for using for digital portfolios for students, or even sharing a lesson which has a lot of multimedia involved. If you don't already have like a learning management system where you can do that really easily, Wakelet is definitely something that can allow you to do that. You can share text with students and embed videos and add links to audio files and PDFs and so on. But the students can also log in and do all that themselves as well. So they can create their own Wakelet collection. So I'm going to be talking all about that and more next time around. So thanks for coming along, everyone. The chat window both of them might be open for a little bit longer. But we will look forward to seeing you there. And thank you. And it's lovely to see some of the Midnight Music community members on today. So welcome to
Oh,
you and thank you for coming
Katie,
along.
there's one more question,
One more
and this one
question.
has been in the Midnight Music
Ah,
community.
is this the podcast one? No, just saying.
So if you didn't catch it, so Katie has been on a podcast since April, which was pointed out to, I think, by Tracy, right? Am I right
Tracy,
about
yep.
that? Yeah. So
She called it out.
Tracy would really like a podcast, and I was like, yeah, me too. And but so Dr. Missy Strong here in New Jersey, woo woo, to us in New
Yay.
Jersey. She interviewed Katie and did a 2-part podcast of Katie with Katie. I think Chris did too, right? Chris was on that.
Yes, Chris
So
was there, yep.
it's 2 parts, and gosh, if you put in Dr. Missy Strong podcast, is she music? Jen, you can tell me. Yeah, New Jersey represent. Is it like it's Music Ed with Missy? Is that right, Jen?
Yes, that's it. Yeah,
Is
Music
that
Ed with
okay?
Missy, yeah.
So if you look for Music Ed with Missy podcast, there is a New Jersey. She just did this with Katie 2 parts, so you can at least catch Katie there and get your fix.
Get more of my voice there.
But Katie they would really like a podcast.
It's actually Music Ed
Tammy.
Amplified. Thank you, Tammy. That's it. Yeah, I and Jim too. Yeah, it's so funny. I'm going to be honest with you. I have been really burnt out, really, really burnt out in the last. It's probably been 3 or 4 months now. So, and it got to this point a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just like, I just have to dial back. So I had a few commitments, and I'm like, this is all I'm going to do, and I just going to do the bare minimum. So people who work with me in my business have been amazing and just kind of done stuff. So blog posts appeared and I'm like, oh, what if we publish this week? Oh, that's good. Katrina and Michelle have taken care of that. And, things still happen. So it's great. But the podcast was one, unfortunately, for everybody and including me, because I really do like doing it. That was one of the first things I had to kind of just leave by the wayside for a little bit. And then I thought, maybe no one really misses it anyway. And so it was so nice actually to have that message from Tracy in the community saying, am I missing something? The podcast is, April was the last episode. And thank you, Jim. He's going through the withdrawal. And I think Dan chimed in there as well in the community. So that makes me feel good. So I'm glad you're missing it in a way. Yes, I do have episodes planned, and actually it's on my list to do Thursday, Friday, is to kind of get a plan for the next few months going and work out the episodes and get some published. So I actually have one already recorded, and it's a great one. It's with Mr. Henry's Music World, Mr. Henry from Mr. Henry's Music World. Yes. Yeah. And I recorded that ages ago. I need to email him and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was going to publish that in July and it just didn't happen. There was much too much going on. Yeah, Jen's feeling the burnout. No, Jen, I saw Jen had posted a question inside the community as well today about how to handle burnout. I was going to get that. I will record you a message and tell you about all my things. But yeah, it's hard. You know what it's like. It's hard to manage all the things. So yeah, so I had to sort of just prioritize a few things which will look more like paid gigs as such, and like the webinar where people show up live each month and stuff. So I have done those, but it's because we've had courses going. So I was doing the Canva course sort of live. It's still available. You don't have to do it live as such, but and by live, it's like everyone was working through the modules at the same time. And we had just done, like earlier in the year, the video creation course, which I had to create from scratch at that time. And then Amy's doing the Seesaw course. And I, stupidly thought, Amy's doing all of that. I don't need to do really much at all. But of course, there is a lot of behind the scenes setting up to do. And then there's, emails we send out to people. There's a lot on. So I just went, okay, I just need to not think about the podcast for a minute. But yeah, it's coming back. If you have, topics that you'd like me to talk about, really it's fairly open at this point. I have always a massive list of things that I can do in episodes. I'm never short of ideas, but I do like hearing from other people about, what you'd be interested in hearing about, or people that you'd like to hear me chat to, like interview. But the Mr. Henry's Music World one, I need to get that just edited and up there. So that will be done. So he has a fantastic website. We talked a lot about YouTube channel. we talked a lot about creating play-along videos because he has some amazing ones and a lot of other stuff too. So I'll get that up, get that going, and get back into it. So thanks, everyone. It's good to hear. It's good to hear. Oh, yeah, Dan. Yes, Jen saying a conversation with Dan about improvisation. Yes, I've told Dan I want him on the podcast. He's like, who wants to hear from me? And I'm like, no, everyone wants to hear from you.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Dan is a member in our community who just ignites the most interesting topics of conversation. Like, I think his posts have the most responses because it's like a true back and forth discussion about philosophical things or just teaching approaches or tech tools or whatever. So I love it. I love it. It's just been great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
gosh.
And Jen, I think you need to get Jen on one as well.
Yeah. Have we
'Cause
done one, Jen? You need to come on. Maybe I just need to work through
I don't
community members. I definitely
you
do.
have been doing your podcasting for years. I don't recall, but maybe you do have one with Jen?
Yeah. I don't think we've done one, Jen.
She
Not
said
yet.
no, not
Okay,
yet.
that's it.
So
You're on the list. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'll get onto it. I'll make a list. Maybe I'll post in the community and people can contribute to a list of ideas. We can sing Jenny Jenkins,
Definitely.
she says. Oh, fabulous. Oh, great. All right. Thank you so much for coming, those that are still here, hanging in there. And Amy and I tend to talk forever and ever, but we'll sign off now. So thanks so much. And we'll see you next time for Wakelet in a couple of weeks' time. Bye, everyone.